Desperation takes hold, and no matter who's in charge these days, you simply can't rely on the government to bail you out. That's why having an emergency food supply on hand is the right move for you and your family. Right now, you can get $50 off a 4-week emergency food kit at mypatriotsupply.com. They're an American company trusted by millions, offering 2,000 calories per day with essential vitamins and minerals to keep you strong during a crisis. This food will be there for you when you need it, since it lasts up to 25 years and can ship out to you next day. Go to mypatriotsupply.com now to get $50 off your 4-week emergency food kit. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Hey parents, you don't need the latest gizmo, slang, or clothes to be a perfect parent, because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you. For more information on how you can adopt, go to adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
Heads up, athletes, coaches, and parents. Play for life, not just points. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM, is the leading cause of sudden cardiac death, especially in black athletes in sports like football or basketball. If you feel shortness of breath, chest pain, and fatigue, or have a family history of HCM, talk to your doctor. Don't let HCM bench you for good. Learn how to stay in the game at heart.org/HCM student athlete. Your heart, your health, your move.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM, Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We pride ourselves on being able to support veterans in their time of greatest need, ensuring they receive the protections they deserve. For over 100 years, the DAV of Massachusetts has helped thousands of veterans with housing, transportation, and medical assistance, and you can help too. Please visit dav5k.boston and make a donation today. That's dav5k.boston.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Understanding Medicare, Essential Questions Answered. Mike, first one that most people have, how do you actually become eligible for Medicare?
Vast majority of us, you turn 65, and there's a special window that becomes open to you when you are turning 65 for you to sign up for Medicare. And important here because you really do have to sign up. Even if you might not be using the coverage in the way you planned, there's a 7-month window, 3 months before the month you were born, 3 months after, and the month of your birth that you have to sign up for Medicare, and you need to get in there and do so. Otherwise, if you're disabled, you are potentially eligible for Medicare, but for most of us, it's that 65th birthday.
What are the different parts of Medicare, actually?
Yeah, so the Part A basic piece is just your hospital insurance coverage. Most people don't pay for this. This is part of the benefits, and it'll cover inpatient hospital stays, skilled nursing facility care, etc. Hospice care, for example, is in there. Then you get into parts B, C, and D, and that's where you get into more complex stuff. But your Part B is your medical insurance. Part C is your Medicare Advantage plans, and then Part D is an important one when you're retired as well, your prescription drug coverage, and that's where getting a professional involved there to help you consult on what you might need given your specific health needs is important.
The guide is titled Understanding Medicare, Essential Questions Answered, and it discusses these topics as well as a host of other ones. How do you request it? Call 800-393-4001. That phone number again to request the guide is 800-393-4001 for the guide Understanding Medicare, Essential Questions Answered.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Estate and asset protection are the keys to a successful retirement. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Back to the Basics. It contains a simple blueprint that will help you create a retirement plan that protects your assets from probate and the nursing home, while also giving you guidance about how to create your will and set up your beneficiaries so that your family's financial security is intact as you get older. If you haven't done your planning yet, or need a second look at your existing plan, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699. and ask for their new guide called Back to the Basics. There are many necessary elements that you'll need to include to give you the peace of mind you want as you prepare for your later years. That number again is 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The calendar is turned and the cold is here to stay. So now's the perfect time to plan that getaway to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Act now and take advantage of a special promotion to St. Croix. Experience a vibe like no other and receive a $250 per person airfare credit and a free hotel night when you book a 5-night minimum stay with any participating hotel before June 30th, 2025. St. Croix is known for its incredible history and spectacular architecture, along with world-class cuisine, incredible golf courses, and a wide variety of water sports. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. Experience a vibe like no other on the island of St. Croix. Go to visitusvi.com and use the code VIBE2025 for more information and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com and code VIBE2025. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Equity markets go splat?
Meh.
Equity markets go splat?
Yeah, they do.
They do. It's Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you, and we're kicking things off in February with a splat. Basically, long story short, the Trump administration on Friday announced that they were going to be putting tariffs in place on Mexico and Canada at 25% for all imports. They then also announced a 10% tariff on China. These were going to be effective on February 1. On February 1st, which was Saturday, they said they would go into effect on February 4th, which is tomorrow. And one key difference is that they did, for Canada and Mexico, carve out a small exemption for energy products, which are going to be tariffed at a 10% rate rather than the 25% on everything else for the countries.
If this is equity markets going splat, what would we be calling it if they were taking this very seriously and going down 5%?
Splat.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
Multiple numbers of splats is how we would describe it.
There are all kinds of signs out there that markets are not fully buying this still. And specifically the fact that they're not really down that much. If markets thought this was actually going to go into effect and stay in effect for any extended period of time, I think you are likely looking at closer to like a 5% move on the S&P 500. And the reason why is pretty simple. When you look at the numbers, the sheer volume in terms of trade that we do with Canada and Mexico, it dwarfs every other country that we trade with, including China, might I add. So, Canada, again, it doesn't dwarf China, but the two together do. Canada, we exported, and this is data from calendar year 2021. It's the most recent year that I have just in front of me. Canada, we exported $307 billion of goods to them. We imported $357. total 665. Mexico exported 276, imported 384, total 661. China, we exported 151, imported 504, 655. So if you look at the numbers here, Canada and Mexico are more than twice the size, or approximately twice the size of Mexico when it comes to the amount of trade that we do with them. And these three countries, that $1.8 trillion in trade that we do, is almost 40% of the trade that we do on a global basis. In that year, 2021, we did about $4.7 trillion in trade. So this is 1.8 of that. And so it's a big chunk overall. And in terms of what the Trump administration is reportedly looking for, it is seeking the Mexican and Canadian authorities to crack down on fentanyl crossing the border. And China is the largest supplier of illicit fentanyl. And so basically looking for something from them as well. To this point, Canada's message has basically been, you want us to do what?
So, according to Trudeau, about 1% of total fentanyl that's moved into the United States over the last several years has come from Canada. So, he admitted 1%'s 1% too much, but there's no fentanyl coming from Canada.
The numbers are small.
Yeah.
And again, you look at the reaction of Canadians over the weekend, whether you're talking about Canadian citizens, politicians, and basically the reaction is, no, you guys can go screw. That's kind of the message that you're getting. To the point where you have liquor stores that are pulling U.S. bourbon off the shelves and things like that. You have
not because the government's telling them to, but rather because they're saying,
okay, fine, you're going to do this. This is what we're going to do back to you.
Yeah. And I don't think it's coming entirely out of a place of zero fear. I think there probably is some genuine concern from businesses in Canada that this is going to hurt our business, but they're also looking at it and saying, what the hell are we supposed to do about this?
What are we going to do here is kind of what Canada's saying. The Canadian government has also announced that they are going to impose a retaliatory 25% tariff on about $150 billion worth of goods that they export to the United States. That's about 40% of Canada's exports that they're saying they are going to, the exports from the U.S. to Canada that they're saying, yes, we're going to, have these tariffs in place on these as well. The Mexican government hasn't really said much of anything, and neither has the Chinese government, aside from just generally saying, yeah, we're not in favor of this, but they have not announced any specific plans or anything else to this point. So I think in terms of our discussion on this, there are a few different points that we can cover. The first, and the one that everyone wants to know, is, okay, how is this going to impact me? What's this going to do to me? And the answer is, in the short term, if these are imposed, and again, this can get pretty complicated if this draws out longer, but in the short term, if this is imposed, you are going to see the price of some imported goods go up potentially fairly meaningfully.
How short term? Because I think there's a big difference here between... All right, so we talked about markets taking this seriously, and maybe part of the read here is that these are going to last 2 weeks, and then a negotiation is going to happen. That is, I think, a common thing that's being thought about, discussed in pieces like this, and markets are certainly thinking. If tariffs exist for 2 weeks, I'm not sure that we see any sort of meaningful price increases.
No, you might see some sporadic ones here and there in certain businesses and certain industries, but probably not much, quite honestly.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. And I don't know that there's a distinct threshold where this starts to matter, but certainly on perishable items, right? When we talk about avocados from Mexico, because the Super Bowl keep getting talked about here, you do not import 3 months' supply of avocados because that's not how food works.
Well, the reason why is that you very quickly end up with 1 week's supply of avocados because they will go bad by next week.
Yeah, there's a common joke about how, my avocado is going to be perfectly ripe between 1 and 1:15 this afternoon. And so, yeah, you can't import a whole bunch of these things. So certain items likely reflect the increased cost of tariffs faster than others.
I actually did just see it just crossed my screen from Reuters. According to Mexico's finance minister, this is the quote from them, quote, Mexico has enough resources to absorb financial shocks and navigate global challenges after the United States announced 25% tariffs on its goods. So at least the initial round from Mexico is, okay, I guess we're doing this. Again, this is all changing minute to minute at the moment. But a couple things. When we look at, when this starts to matter, there are certain industries where you're going to have impacts now that are going to not result in prices going up, but shortages of goods. The first place that you're going to look is new home construction. There is a ton of lumber that is imported from Canada that goes into building homes. Pre-market, I haven't looked since it opened right now, but pre-market lumber futures were limit up. So basically, the pre-market circuit breakers, it was hitting them. And what this means, and why I say this is going to matter, if you are a home builder, unless you're like really big and really sophisticated, where there's like probably 2 or 3 companies nationwide that do this, and they probably build, I don't know, 4%, 5% of our homes nationwide, because there are no truly like giant home builders, you're not hedging your lumber costs. The average builder who's building 5 properties a year isn't hedging their lumber cost. They go to Home Depot or Lowe's or their local, small lumber yard, and they buy what they need when they need it. That's how they do it.
Yep.
The price of this lumber is going to go up precipitously if this stays in place for any more than a couple days. This is one area. And so if you are a home builder and you're saying, gee, I need to sell this home for X in order to make a profit, you immediately say, I can't build this house right now because I'm either not going to hit my profit numbers or I'm not going to be able to sell this house for, what I want to sell it for. And so this is, one place where immediately you are going to see a significant slowdown, if not almost a complete halt.
And when Donald Trump acknowledges on his social media platform that there could be pain, I think that this is part of that acknowledgement is, I don't believe we need to be importing so much Canadian lumber. We have plenty here in the United States, and so there might be some pain here. The question is, how much? In April of 2021, you had lumber prices per 1,000 board feet hitting, what was it?
900?
No, like 1,500
1,500.
briefly.
I forgot where we got to, yeah.
We're in the 600s now, but that's, like you said, hit circuit breakers.
We were down
morning.
Around 400 a few months ago,
correct.
Right?
And pre-COVID.
So lumber prices are up 50% in the last couple months, and today, what's the move today?
Well, it hit the circuit breaker at like 7%,
okay.
so I'm not really sure where it's going to continue, but
yeah.
It stopped trading up 7%.
So all this is to say, it's going to be dependent on the specific industry and the specific product. There are other places. Why don't we take a quick break? The auto industry is a big one that we need to talk about. And so I think let's take a break here, and then let's talk tariffs and autos right after this.
Get up-to-the-minute market updates with Wall Street Watch, weekdays at 10:30, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Medicare provides health coverage for millions of Americans, but it's a challenging program. Being aware of its many complexities is crucial to your healthcare plans for later life. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide is called Understanding Medicare, Essential Questions Answered. In it, we'll help you learn about the basics, including enrollment periods, costs, and coverage options, as well as more complicated issues like filing claims and appeals and planning for long-term care. Call us today at 800-393-4001 and request your free guide today. There are many resources available to help you understand your options and rights under Medicare. Ask for our free guide and learn more so that you can make the most informed decisions for your health care. And you can get it by calling 800-393-4001. Again, that number is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Estate and asset protection are the keys to a successful retirement. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Back to the Basics. It contains a simple blueprint that will help you create a retirement plan that protects your assets from probate and the nursing home, while also giving you guidance about how to create your will and set up your beneficiaries so that your family's financial security is intact as you get older. If you haven't done your planning yet, or need a second look at your existing plan, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and ask for their new guide called Back to the Basics. There are many necessary elements that you'll need to include to give you the peace of mind you want as you prepare for your later years. That number again is 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The calendar is turned and the cold is here to stay. So now's the perfect time to plan that getaway to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Act now and take advantage of a special promotion to St. Croix. Experience a vibe like no other and receive a $250 per person airfare credit and a free hotel night when you book a 5-night minimum stay with any participating hotel before June 30th, 2025. St. Croix is known for its incredible history and spectacular architecture, along with world-class cuisine, incredible golf courses, and a wide variety of water sports. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. Experience a vibe like no other on the island of St. Croix. Go to visitusvi.com and use the code VIBE2025 for more information and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com and code VIBE2025.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much. And they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine, no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline qualification line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense.
Missed one of our shows? Catch up anytime by asking your Alexa smart speaker to play the Financial Exchange. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you in part by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, and if you act now, you can take advantage of a special promotion to St. Croix. Experience a vibe like no other and get a $250 per person airline credit when you book a minimum 5-night stay at participating hotels. Go to visitusvi.com and use code VIBE2025 to reserve your trip today. Take your next vacation to St. Croix in America's Caribbean paradise, the United States Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com and use code VIBE2025 to book your trip. That's visitusvi.com and code VIBE2025.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the auto industry and specifically how they could be impacted by these tariffs. So, a couple things. First, just like the prerequisite about talking about the auto industry, when a vehicle is built these days, even if it is assembled in the United States, there are often multiple parts or in some cases entire components of the vehicle that may cross the border multiple times before that vehicle is built. Now, it's not with every vehicle, and this is more closely related to vehicles that are built in and around the Detroit area, just because, again, you've got factories basically on both sides of the Great Lakes that go into that supply chain.
Sure.
But you can have, just as an example, an engine where, hey, part of the work is done at a factory in Detroit, then it's shipped over the border in order to have, piston work done, then it gets sent back in order to have, whatever. I don't know enough about, cars to be able to tell you, all the ins and outs.
We got engine and piston, so I feel accomplished.
I feel pretty good just having, done that.
Yeah.
And then, you stick a fork in it and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm told.
Yeah.
In any case, vehicles and their components can cross the border multiple times, and sometimes the way that tariffs are structured, and again, it's not like we have a ton of experience with actual tariff implementation either, but sometimes the way tariffs are structured, or generally the way they are, is using what's called a drawback. And a drawback is the premise of, hey, if I ship this over the border at a cost of $400 and it comes back at a cost of $500, that $400 is drawn back and the tariff is applied to that $100 difference.
Got it.
Okay. In this tariff order, it is clearly spelled out. Okay, and this is from I'm looking right now at whitehouse.gov. So I'm reading
straight from the source.
Straight from the source here. And basically it specifically says that it applies to the value of all goods that are being transferred back and forth. Okay? So, again, I'll read it here. Such rate of duty shall apply with respect to goods entered for consumption or withdrawn from warehouse for consumption on or after 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time, February 4th, 2025, except that ones have basically been in port beforehand.
Yep.
So it's very clearly spelling out, and then Section G here, by the way, which says blah, blah, blah. Sorry, there's just a lot here today. No drawback shall be available with respect to the duties imposed pursuant to this order. So it's
intentional.
It's intentional. It's not just in something that's in omission.
Yep.
What this means, good crosses at 400. Okay, Canada has said they're applying retaliatory tariffs. Great, you're applying 25% there. Okay, your 400 now is a $500 cost. You better believe the Canadian company is going to say, okay, we got to charge more, send this back. So now they're making their same profit. They're charging it at 6. Then there's another 25 to the 6, another 150. So now just from one and back border crossing, something that previously might have been $500, you've now got it $750.
So American car companies today, Tesla off 6%, General Motors off 6%, all of them basically more than tripling the losses that you're seeing in the market so far.
We got breaking news now from Mexico's president, who says tariffs are delayed for a month. It's unclear. This is just the chyron that came across. I don't know if that means Mexico's tariffs, Canada's, all of them. I don't know if it's about retaliatory this, retaliatory that, but delayed for a month.
Yep.
And so here we go again. Do we just not talk about this now?
I don't know.
I feel kind of stupid, quite honestly.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like I just wasted my entire morning.
So Mexico's Shine Bomb says tariffs delayed for a month.
So this is a correspondent from News Nation saying that Mexico's president says she and Trump had a good conversation and reached a series of agreements. She says they are pausing tariffs for 1 month from now.
Okay, so Mexico
may not be subject to these.
Are we going to talk tariff? We got like 42 tariff stories. Do we just throw out the whole thing?
I don't know, Chuck. This is the type of unpredictability that I genuinely despise right now.
I don't know what to do. Like we got this whole stack on tariffs.
Yeah.
Are they going to announce something in 20 minutes?
Probably.
You have to operate under the assumption that no.
So let's just finish the conversation on autos, knowing that by 3 p.m. today, frankly, by 10:30 today, it could all be irrelevant. But the fact of the matter is that should any of this stuff actually be real, then the cost of vehicles, as you mentioned, are one of the spotlight items that would face massive increases.
Here's the thing. So we now have to work under the assumption. I'm sorry. We have to work under the assumption that none of these are going into effect.
I think we do. Yeah. If you've got the president of Mexico saying that there's been a 1 month delay, then that's an indication that it's all fake.
So if that's the case, how do businesses deal with this? Because, let's say that you
certainly do not move any manufacturing anywhere across borders. But
then you're setting yourself up for the one time when it is real.
Yep.
Then you get completely caught.
No, you don't do anything. If you are an auto business, I don't know how you
deal with this.
Yeah, if you're an auto business, if you are a manufacturer of goods, by no stretch of the imagination do you do anything that would move manufacturing, because it's not even clear from Donald Trump's announcements that's one of his goals. Right? Everything's been about fentanyl. It's been about immigration. We want progress on these items. It hasn't been, we're really pissed that American auto manufacturers keep putting jobs in Canada and Mexico. It's not even been brought up. And so, yeah, this is the type of unpredictability that people have talked about, and we will see how big of a swing this ends up being today, because, quite frankly, equity markets have already shaved off half their losses for the day.
They have. So...
Or nearly half, not quite.
I guess we're going to have to figure out what to talk about for the rest of the day because, admittedly, like we had a lot of stuff. So
about tariffs.
We're going to take a break and figure out what to do, and after that, we will return. Wall Street Watch is next.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
Hi, I'm Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and soldiers' homes and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for both single veterans and those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
The calendar is turned and the cold is here to stay. So now's the perfect time to plan that getaway to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Act now and take advantage of a special promotion to St. Croix. Experience a vibe like no other and receive a $250 per person airfare credit and a free hotel night when you book a 5-night minimum stay with any participating hotel before June 30th, 2025. St. Croix is known for its incredible history and spectacular architecture, along with world-class cuisine, incredible golf courses, and a wide variety of water sports. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. Experience a vibe like no other on the island of St. Croix. Go to visitusvi.com and use the code VIBE2025 for more information and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com and code VIBE2025.
This is Tucker Salvo of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about the basics of estate planning. Todd, what happens if you don't have a healthcare proxy in place and your spouse needs nursing home care?
So this is a basic document that we don't talk about as much as we should. It allows you to appoint somebody else to make a medical decision for you. And by the way, it's not just one medical decision. It could be any number of things, from prescription drugs to doing a surgery. And yes, the most important one, which is, hey, if all hope is lost, I don't want to, be on a machine. But that's the basics, and you do need it for that. But the bigger point is, if you enter a nursing home and you don't have one of these, you're not going to be able to admit them. You're going to have to go get a guardianship in order to admit them to the nursing home, because they're not going to allow you to do that. So very important that you have one for that. Now, guardianships are time consuming and expensive. You got to hire a lawyer. You got to go through a lot of nonsense, right? If you have this basic document, which you should have for anyway, just for your basic purposes, having it not only for those reasons, but to help you get into a nursing home if you need to, is essential.
Learn how you can avoid probate, eliminate estate taxes, keep your money in your family, and protect your assets from the nursing home. Request the brand new guide from Cushing & Dolan. It's called Back to the Basics. 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com. Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 30 years. Call 866-848-5699, or request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Well, markets are in negative territory, however, not as bad as at the open, following the recent news that Mexico has announced that U.S. tariffs will be delayed a month. That was, again, as of moments ago, an ongoing situation, which we'll continue to update you on. Right now, the Dow is down by 202 points, about 0.5%. S&P 500 is down by nearly 0.9% or 52 points. NASDAQ down 1.25% or 240 points. The Russell 2000 still selling off by 2.5%. 10-year Treasury yield down by 4 basis points at 4.52%. And crude oil mostly flat now, trading at $72.52 a barrel. Several automakers, including General Motors, Ford, Stellantis, and Tesla, seeing slight losses on the day in reaction to the tariff announcement over the weekend. Another sector taking hits today include the consumer goods sector as investors weigh the implication of Trump's potential tariffs on Mexico, impacting companies like Constellation Brands, the importer of Modelo and Corona beers. However, that stock is down by only 2% now after the recent announcement from Mexico. Other sectors taking a hit in reaction to the tariff announcement include retail, steelmakers, railroads, transportation providers, restaurant chains, home builders, and solar stocks. Outside of tariffs, Tyson Foods posted fiscal first quarter earnings that beat expectations, sending that stock up by 3%. PVH, the parent company to brands including Calvin Klein and Tommy Bahama, was downgraded by Wells Fargo to equal weight from overweight, saying it feels like a value trap due to mounting issues. PVH shares are down by 6%. And as for earnings this week, Palantir reports after the closing bell today. Merck, Pfizer, Pepsi report tomorrow morning, followed by Google's Alphabet and AMD tomorrow afternoon. Novo Nordisk, Disney, Uber, and Qualcomm report on Wednesday. Amazon, Eli Lilly, Honeywell, and others will post on Thursday. And nothing on the major on the earnings front on Friday. However, we do have the January jobs report due out on Friday morning. I'm Tucker Silva, and that's Wall Street Watch.
So, as Tucker said, the Mexican president has said that the tariffs on Mexico are delayed for a month.
She also announced border deployment of Mexican troops.
Yeah, it looks like 10,000 Mexican National Guard troops being deployed to the Mexican-U.S. border. So you've got something there where you say, okay, here's the action that's being taken. I want to circle back just to the business impact, because if you're a business trying to make plans, you can't live under constant threat of tariff. Because you don't know if they are or not going to actually be implemented.
Yeah, I don't really have any advice for somebody trying to figure this all out.
If you're a business, be it large or small, and you're trying to figure out, okay, what does our 2025 look like? Okay, I'm going to expand this way. I'm going to expand that way. Let's use the home builder as an example. Hey, if you're trying to figure out how many permits to pull for this year, what do you do?
I think probably not much, and that may also be a real problem.
Right? How much risk do you want to take on? Because
I think right now the answer is you are doing as little as possible. When
you say as little as
as little new investment as possible, and that probably doesn't last forever. But there comes a point where, let's get a month out and assume that we're talking about this type of thing. There's only so many times a business will by, hey, I'm going to face tariffs.
Right.
And then get the rug pulled out from you last second.
Right.
And so I'm sure there's different time periods for everyone out there, but there's a number of probably CEOs who are saying this morning, all right, forget this. We don't think this person's serious anymore. Let's move forward with plans because there are unlikely to be tariffs at any point in the near future.
So
on Mexico and Canada, at least. Again, it is really unclear what you're supposed to do with this information this morning because as of 20 minutes ago, Mexico and Canada faced tariffs of 25% on all of their goods, and apparently there was a good enough conversation to completely wipe the slate clean on that.
Right. So, look, if there was enough progress made, there's enough progress made, but I'm sorry, I'm kind of sick of, feeling dumb about this. I keep telling everyone, Trump says he's going to institute tariffs. You got to believe him. And then every time that we're right up to it, it's not happening. And I'm not rooting for tariffs, but I guess I'm rooting to believe him when he says he's going to implement these.
I'm rooting for our U.S. president to be taken seriously.
Well, I don't know what to do. And I'm a little bit lost on it, quite honestly. Everything that you've been hearing from him, from his, other people in his administration is, yes, we believe that tariffs are, how we're going to help to equalize global trade. And I may or may not agree with that. I don't know if I agree with it, but I want to see how it plays out because they're talking about some really ambitious things. And I guess where I get to is, look, if you're not actually going to do it, then why'd you talk about it?
I don't have answers for people out there on this subject other than to say, unfortunately, Donald Trump's, if it continues in this way, then you kind of have to take his promises with a grain of salt, which is troubling.
Right. Am I at the point now where, okay, I just have to work from the underlying assumption that we're not going to see any tariffs?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that I can do,
So we're going to, here's what we're going to do, is we're going to move on from tariff talk today because it seems irrelevant now.
I mean, there's still Canada, though.
I understand, but if this is all it took for Mexico to get their tariffs waived,
follow,
then there's nothing that would convince me that 10 minutes from now we're not going to see another, what do you call those things? Chyrons?
Yes.
Yeah, the things that come across the TV called chyrons saying that tariffs on Canada are waived for 30 days. It's just not possible to really take these conversations seriously when you have this big of a swing within 30 minutes. And so I think we do need to leave the tariff talk to itself for the day and let it work itself out because there's nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
There's nothing else you can really summarize with all of this because
there's nothing else we can
you
do.
have no idea what's going to happen as displayed by what just occurred in Mexico. So one more recap. Tariffs were to go into place tonight at midnight. They have apparently been granted a 30-day or 1-month waiver in the case of Mexico due to seemingly some action on Mexican military action near the border. That's all we know.
Do they account for the shortened month of February? Do we know that?
Good question. Question.
Is it a month? Is it 30 days?
It's not a leap year.
Is
not
it
a
4
leap year.
weeks?
Okay.
No, we leapt last year, I believe.
We did, yeah.
That was fun. I enjoyed leaping.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about inflation. Piece in the Wall Street Journal, inflation that is down to 3%. Why that isn't good enough. And there's some stuff here that I buy. There's some stuff that I don't. The subheadline here, I don't buy. Even inflation this low could feed consumer frustration, workplace friction, and an inflationary psychology. I don't buy that just because we've looked at the long term, and by long term I mean going back to 1980, inflation that we've had in the United States, and basically it's what we've experienced in the last year on an annual basis. So unless everyone is sitting there being like, man, inflation's been awful for the last 45 years, I'm not really buying that this level of inflation is going to feed consumer frustration. It's much more, in my opinion, hey, if we've averaged 2.9 over the last 45 years, if core inflation basically gets to 3 and can't get lower, then you've got a problem where you're not necessarily, spending a lot of time down in the low twos as we have for the last, 25 years, but you've got an easy ping pong back up to 4 to 5% inflation if oil prices go the opposite way that they went last year at any time.
Yeah, and I guess I'm comfortable saying that 4 to 5% inflation is something that genuinely frustrates Americans, only because it's not something that we have experienced for the last 45 years. 2 to 3%, pretty darn normal. 4 to 5 is outside the realm of normal. I don't know what we do in the 3 to 4% range. Probably a little uncomfortable, but not something to write home about. But for the time being, yeah, I just don't get worried about 3% inflation. To be clear, if you take the last few months of data, you get to more than 3%. And so I think that's some of the concern, right? If you're just looking, forget about the last 12 months, but look at the last 3 months and annualize that out, we're on a pace for closer to 4 than we are 3.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that just on headline CPI?
True.
Core CPI has actually been better recently.
Yep.
And all the PCE numbers, both core and headline, have actually been better the last few months as well. Mm-hmm. So it's, again, the danger of core inflation settling, core CPI right now is at 3.25.
Yeah.
If core inflation settles at 3.25, you've got a problem there because, again, there's an easy path back up to 4 or 5% inflation. And that path is very simple. It's, okay, instead of oil prices going from 80 to 70 last year, they go from 70 to 80 this year.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the possibility of tax cuts and where they stand as we kick things off in February.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Like our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. The calendar is turned and the cold is here to stay. So now's the perfect time to plan that getaway to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Act now and take advantage of a special promotion to St. Croix. Experience a vibe like no other and receive a $250 per person airfare credit and a free hotel night when you book a 5-night minimum stay with any participating hotel before June 30th, 2025. St. Croix is known for its incredible history and spectacular architecture, along with world-class cuisine, incredible golf courses, and a wide variety of water sports. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. Experience a vibe like no other on the island of St. Croix. Go to visitusvi.com and use the code VIBE2025 for more information and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com and code VIBE2025.
In retirement, healthcare coverage is likely to be one of your largest concerns. This is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Medicare provides coverage to 65 million Americans age 65 or older. And if you're closing in on that age, understanding how Medicare works is not only important for you individually, but for your family as well. Medicare is made up of 4 parts, A, B, C, and D, and each of these parts provide specific coverage. Our new guide is called Understanding Medicare, Essential Questions Answered, and in it, we'll explain your eligibility, how to enroll, and of course, the costs. Call us today at 800-393-4001 and request your free guide. There are many different elements of Medicare, and this guide will help educate you on all of them. Call 800-393-4001 or request the guide online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We focus on the people returning from service, not their specific illness or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Protecting your assets is the key to a sound estate plan. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Back to the Basics, and in it, you'll learn how to protect your assets from probate and potentially eliminate your estate taxes. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699, or request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we're covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, Mike, let's talk a little bit about the potential for tax cuts here. And I think there's a piece in the Wall Street Journal that is kind of out of date already, but it's titled, "Trump's move to put tariff hikes ahead of tax cuts has spooked almost everyone." I don't really know what to say about the headline at this point because, again, if you're just tuning in, the Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has said, and the White House has confirmed, that tariffs on Mexico are now delayed for a month. So I guess we get to do this all again a month from now.
Yes.
Still no word on Canada or China, but Mexico at least, tariffs not going into effect for a month. But the question on this is, hey, a lot of investors came into this year with the expectation that year one of Trump 2.0 is going to look a lot like year one of Trump 1.0, and that, hey, tax cuts are going to be a major feature of that. And to this point, still not really any noise about it. I mean, again, it's really early. Like, it's been 2 weeks, so I think that, you know, look, you're not going to pass tax legislation in 2 weeks, but I think the question that still is out there in my mind is, look, if you're going to do the tax side of the equation in terms of reducing the overall amount of tax collected, then you have to have some real proof in the pudding on the spending side, because this is not an economy where you want to go from 6% deficits up to 8 or 9% deficits with unemployment still at 4%.
Yeah, there are two pieces to tax cuts getting done that are hurdles, and I don't really know whether or not they're insurmountable. The one piece that you just mentioned is deficits, and there are still Republicans in Congress that care about that. There are many that seemingly don't.
There are a lot of people who should care about it. You know, it's
100%.
something that it hasn't
actually does matter.
It hasn't really mattered for the last 80 years.
Right.
But at some point, like, it probably will. I say probably because I don't know for certain.
Yep.
And look, we're in some pretty dodgy territory, and the Biden administration did not really do anything to actually help out with the deficit. In fact, expanding it during the tenure.
Right. And so the fact remains that if you cut tariffs without any corresponding revenue decreases that are meaningful, right? Because we can talk about the Department of Government Efficiency, but all estimates are that they're not going to do a whole lot on the spending side. So, one, there is the deficit hawk side of this. The other part is the SALT piece. And this doesn't affect a ton of taxpayers, but it is clearly delaying at least some of the conversations around tax cuts, because there are a number of Republicans elected to position in high-tax states such as New York and California who are saying we will not take action on any tax cuts without changes to those SALT cap rules. And, you know, frankly, those are rules that really only impact the highest earners in some of those high-tax states. And there's a number of Republicans probably in other states who don't want to see that stuff go through. And so, again, are any of these insurmountable? No. But those are the two things in my mind that really have to happen before Republicans can put together a real tax bill.
If you're nearing retirement age and are concerned about how to protect your assets, you need to call Cushing & Dolan, the experts in elder law. Their new guide is called Back to the Basics, and it will help you create a plan that can help you understand issues like avoiding probate, passing your assets along to your family, and potentially eliminating your estate taxes. This free guide has all the information you need to build a safe and secure estate plan that will give you peace of mind as you close in on retirement. Call 866-848-5699 right now and request your free guide today. You can also request a no-obligation consultation to review any current planning you've done. Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 30 years. Let them help you too. Get their new guide called Back to the Basics today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 848-5699, or you can request the guide from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Mike, when you think of nicknames that you'd like to have in your life, is the Pork King one of them?
So were I the CEO of a major pork producer, then maybe, but I don't ever envision myself getting there. And so otherwise, the Pork King seems like it would be quite derogatory were it's, were I named after it.
I would love to be the Pork King. I mean,
yeah?
Listen, the best would still be if I could succeed Abe Froman as the Sausage King of Chicago.
Sure.
But the Pork King sounds pretty good. So Smithfield Foods
But if you're a CIO of a major investment advisor named the Pork King, doesn't that just add a lot of questions?
Maybe I like it that way.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
maybe that's what I want. Smithfield Foods. So their CEO is Shane Smith, and he has helped to take the company public in, was it last year or last week? I don't know exactly when. Again, I'm just not paying that much attention to Smithfield Foods in general. But here's the thing. They are trying to make a big push to get more Americans porking up, because I do think pork gets kind of poo-pooed and is kind of an afterthought in many families' dinner tables.
Yeah, it doesn't have the place of chicken.
Not a lot of pork chops in my house.
Yeah.
You know what the biggest problem is?
What?
Americans cook their pork horribly.
Yes, thank you.
Too
chewy.
They overcook it to the point where it's inedible.
You don't know what you're doing.
And for that, I blame the chef, not the meat, because we've got this fear of, what is it, trichta something gnosis or whatever. I forget what it is. There hasn't been a case in U.S. meat in like 40 years. So I am very pro-pork, and I think
Shane's going to be successful.
Y'all who are hating on it are just doing it wrong.
See if there's a bacon commercial at the Super Bowl this year. Step one.
Even without bacon, I love using the whole animal, and bacon is obviously delicious, but there's a lot of ways to play pork, and I'm in favor.
The hoof.
Quick break. Hour 2 coming up.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much. And they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline qualification line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network. WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM. Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
The calendar is turned and the cold is here to stay. So now's the perfect time to plan that getaway to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Act now and take advantage of a special promotion to St. Croix. Experience a vibe like no other and receive a $250 per person airfare credit and a free hotel night when you book a 5-night minimum stay with any participating hotel before June 30th, 2025. St. Croix is known for its incredible history and spectacular architecture, along with world-class cuisine, incredible golf courses, and a wide variety of water sports. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. Experience a vibe like no other on the island of St. Croix. Go to visitusvi.com and use the code VIBE2025 for more information and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com and code VIBE2025.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We focus on the people returning from service, not their specific illness or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Protecting your assets is the key to a sound estate plan. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Back to the Basics, and in it, you'll learn how to protect your assets from probate and potentially eliminate your estate taxes. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699, or request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, the grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Understanding Medicare, Essential Questions Answered. Mike, first one that most people have. How do you actually become eligible for Medicare?
Vast majority of us, you turn 65, and there's a special window that becomes open to you when you are turning 65 for you to sign up for Medicare. And important here because you really do have to sign up. Even if you might not be using the coverage in the way you planned, there's a 7-month window, 3 months before the month you were born, 3 months after, and the month of your birth, that you have to sign up for Medicare, and you need to get in there and do so. Otherwise, if you're disabled, you are potentially eligible for Medicare, but for most of us, it's that 65th birthday.
What are the different parts of Medicare, actually?
Yeah, so the Part A basic piece is just your hospital insurance coverage. Most people don't pay for this. This is part of the benefits, and it'll cover inpatient hospital stays, skilled nursing facility care, etc. Hospice care, for example, is in there. Then you get into Parts B, C, and D, and that's where you get into more complex stuff. But your Part B is your medical insurance. Part C is your Medicare Advantage plans, and then Part D is an important one when you're retired as well, your prescription drug coverage, and that's where getting a professional involved there to help you consult on what you might need given your specific health needs is important.
The guide is titled Understanding Medicare, Essential Questions Answered, and it discusses these topics as well as a host of other ones. How do you request it? Call 800-393-4001. That phone number again to request the guide is 800-393-4001 for the guide Understanding Medicare, Essential Questions Answered.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you, and as we sit here right now, we're about 13 hours from the potential imposition of tariffs on Canada and China. I leave out our neighbors to the south in Mexico because about an hour or so ago, actually maybe a half hour ago, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum announced that the tariffs on Mexico were going to be delayed by 1 month after a negotiation with the United States. The White House confirmed that, and so Mexico, at least for either the next 28, 30, or 31 days, depending on how
Unclear.
we define a month, is not subject to tariffs.
That's what we understand. Market reaction has been all over today, as you can imagine. In pre-market trading, you had U.S. equities last night down as much as 2% on the S&P 500. Opened up down in the 1.5% to 1.6% range, now cutting those losses in half. Markets are still down. S&P off, like I said, about 0.8% at the moment. The interesting thing's been in the bond market, Chuck. I know you were going there next, so talk about Treasury markets and what we're seeing there.
So this morning, before the Mexico announcement, the 10-year Treasury was down about 6 basis points. As we sit here right now, after the Mexico announcement, hasn't budged, still down 6 basis points. Yeah. And so my read, and again, it can be any one of a million things, is, look, the 10-year is composed, there's two things that make up bond yields in any tenor. The first is, what do you think growth expectations are going to be? The second is, what do you think inflation expectations are going to be? And the 10-year coming down, you can look at it and say, okay, is this because of inflation or growth? And you can actually break it down in the individual components. And what we are seeing here is that the inflation component is actually still picking up a little bit, while the growth component is being driven a little bit lower. And so markets are saying, and again, who knows if they're going to be right or not. I'm not saying that the bond market is always right. We've kind of poo-pooed the bond market quite often in the last few years for being wrong on a lot of this.
Yeah.
But the bond market today is saying, hey, even if those tariffs aren't imposed, yeah, we know there's still 2 more that are, floating out there. We're still not quite buying that the growth story is going to be what we thought it was last week. Now, this could all reverse itself by this afternoon or tomorrow, but this is just what it's saying to us at this very point in time. Other things that we are seeing moving right now, oil, West Texas Intermediate, after being up about $2 a barrel earlier today on the tariff news, now flat for the day at $72.53. AAA national average for gas prices is also flat overnight at $3.09 and 0.8 cents. And we've got gold today with those bond yields moving lower, gold moving up $20.50 an ounce to $28.55 and 50 cents. Now, we've been talking tariffs all day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least for as much of the day as we could until they were, not put into place on Mexico. It's hard to believe that just a week ago, everyone and their grandma was freaking out about DeepSeek, the new AI model from China. It feels like that was 3 months ago.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything personal going on in my life right now, but the last 7 days seem like a century.
It's wild. Just it feels like there's been so much happening each day.
You know what it is? It's the amount of educating you and I have needed to do to feel even reasonably intelligent to speak about these things. You had to cram a lot of reading into the last 7 days.
So we got a piece in the Wall Street
Journal. Or at least I did. I don't know how Chuck comes up with this stuff.
I don't know. I just sleep and it comes to me.
He just pulls a Will Ferrell from the old school. I blacked out. What happened?
Most of the time. So they have 6 takeaways from the last week for AI. Number 1, DeepSeek is a coup for China and a new approach to AI. Yeah, I can buy that.
Coup, I don't know about that word coup, but yeah, it's a very new approach to AI. And even if parts of it turn out to be untrue, it's still a pretty significant shakeup.
Number 2, DeepSeek's rise made investors skeptical of NVIDIA.
I would say it lost about 1/5 of its value in a week.
And not just that, even today with the tariff news being kind of in flux, NVIDIA's still down 2%, which is a bigger drop than the point the 0.2% that we're seeing in the S&P or the 1% on the NASDAQ. So NVIDIA still with some questions that are out there. Next one, chip export controls on China aren't stopping its AI ascendance. If you remember, the Biden administration put in place a number of export restrictions on AI chips specifically, and whether China was able to, secretly obtain them and train their models on this, or whether China just said, no, we don't need these, they still figured out how to build a better mousetrap.
Yeah, so I agree on all of that. I think facts might not be in evidence that this will permanently allow China to continue its AI ascendance, but in this one instance, whether they were able to get around the export controls or train this AI on not best-in-class chips, in this one instance, they were able to succeed where other companies have not. I would say jury's still out on, hey, can you replicate this with the next generation of technology if we are more successful in those export controls. But, yeah, to this point, unclear.
Let's see. This next one. DeepSeek may be succeeding by free riding on OpenAI's work. Which
is, by the way, the funniest story ever.
Yes.
After OpenAI trained its model on, ripping off every journal, every newspaper out there, every social media platform out there, without their consent and without paying for it. Now AI is, claiming that DeepSeek ripped off its own model.
As Ben Stiller once said in Dodgeball, cram it up your cram hole, LaFleur.
Tough to have much pity for Sam Altman and,
right?
and AI on this.
Oh, you guys trained on our model? Dude, you trained, when your CTO, your chief technology officer at the time, was asked, have you trained these models on YouTube as an example? this is. Have you seen the video of this, Mike?
No.
She kind of twists her face and is like, well, I don't really know. I'm not sure, maybe. Like, guys, for you to be saying, hey, this is illegal, they train their stuff on our stuff, please, come on.
Yeah, you're going to have a tough time winning a lawsuit on that one.
Good luck with that. If
in Chinese court, by the way.
If that's really the case, yes, good luck with that, too. The transitive property of theft is that shouldn't whoever OpenAI stole from be the one suing DeepSeek?
Yeah, I guess so.
Any monies won by DeepSeek or by OpenAI in Chinese courts should be immediately transferred to whoever actually trained OpenAI. Let's see. DeepSeek's strategy puts Silicon Valley's at risk. Kind of does. The whole premise of AI in the United States, and this was first laid out in papers by OpenAI a few years ago, was, hey, if you want to improve models, you need to get scale, training, and really the scale was the big thing. If it's true that you can actually build robust models without needing to scale the architecture the way that they are, then the real question is, hey, are all of these companies spending money that they don't need to?
Right. I'm going to summarize the information known about AI prior to Monday of last week as only giant tech companies could succeed in this space.
You and I cannot go out and compete against them.
And guess what? All the giant tech companies globally are U.S. Maybe you can call Alibaba, another giant tech company, but
No,
not really.
I don't.
Yeah, it's Microsoft, Google, Meta, NVIDIA. These were the companies that had the scale and money and expertise to succeed in AI, and Monday flipped that narrative.
Finally, despite DeepSeek's threat, SoftBank is making a huge bet on OpenAI. Yes, because Masayoshi Son just loves to throw money at different tech companies, and sometimes they work, and sometimes he's like the exact top of that market, and you don't really know until after the fact. One other thing, just while we're talking AI, the whole premise of these AI races and why companies are spending so much money is to get to something that they call AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, which is the idea that, hey, what we've seen to this point is, even though it can be like multimodal in some respects, like, hey, I can send a picture and it can describe it in text or vice versa.
Sure.
It still is limited. It's not really thinking. It's just pulling things together and responding from the prompt that I give it. The idea behind artificial general intelligence is, hey, you basically create like a cybernetic organism, which is freaking wild and sci-fi. Like it's, like you're building the Terminator. I guess what I'm getting at is there's this whole idea that, okay, you're going to get to artificial general intelligence. And I have one question that's been kind of bothering me about this.
Okay.
Then what? Like,
what's the sci-fi future that we're looking for out of this?
What? Okay, so you've got artificial general intelligence. What then?
I guess we don't need humans. I don't know.
Like, where's...
And does anybody want artificial general intelligence?
The tech companies clearly do.
Yes.
But I guess...
But do any of us?
So what...
Do consumers want artificial general intelligence?
What happens once we get there? Like, what's the point of it? What does it do? How does it act?
We'll know when we get there, Chuck.
I guess that's just the...
I'd prefer to have a plan ahead of time, but we'll know when we get there.
You would want to, in theory, have a better plan when meeting an intelligence with far greater recall and logical reasoning than the bulk of, than basically all of our population.
For just example of other innovations in the past. They didn't plan to go to the moon and be like, well, we'll figure out what to do when we get there.
Right. It was, hey, like, we're going to go to the moon and we're going to bring back rocks and see if there's signs of water and life.
Play by ear,
It's like Neil wasn't like stepping off like the ship being like, hey, let's go see what that hill is over there. What, Jimmy, give me the golf. You packed the golf clubs. No, like they knew they were packing the golf clubs because they only had so much weight they could put on the ship. So this whole thing with artificial general intelligence, to me, it's like, okay, so you built something that can think for itself.
Now what?
What do we do?
Let's see if we can beat it in a war.
What's the plan? Quick break here. When we come back, we've got trivia, and then we're going to be talking oil after this.
Miss any of the show? Catch up at your convenience by visiting financialexchangeshow.com and clicking the on-demand icon where you'll find all of our interviews and full shows. This is your home for the latest business and financial news in New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We pride ourselves on being able to support veterans in their time of greatest need, ensuring they receive the protections they deserve. For over 100 years, the DAV of Massachusetts has helped thousands of veterans with housing, transportation, and medical assistance, and you can help too. Please visit dav5k.boston and make a donation today. That's dav5k.boston.
Protecting your assets is the key to a sound estate plan. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Back to the Basics, and in it, you'll learn how to protect your assets from probate and potentially eliminate your estate taxes. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699, or request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The calendar is turned and the cold is here to stay. So now's the perfect time to plan that getaway to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Act now and take advantage of a special promotion to St. Croix. Experience a vibe like no other and receive a $250 per person airfare credit and a free hotel night when you book a 5-night minimum stay with any participating hotel before June 30th, 2025. St. Croix is known for its incredible history and spectacular architecture, along with world-class cuisine, incredible golf courses, and a wide variety of water sports. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. Experience a vibe like no other on the island of St. Croix. Go to visitusvi.com and use the code VIBE2025 for more information and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com and code VIBE2025.
In retirement, healthcare coverage is likely to be one of your largest concerns. This is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Medicare provides coverage to 65 million Americans age 65 or older. And if you're closing in on that age, understanding how Medicare works is not only important for you individually, but for your family as well. Medicare is made up of 4 parts, A, B, C, and D, and each of these parts provide specific coverage. Our new guide is called Understanding Medicare, Essential Questions Answered, and in it, we'll explain your eligibility, how to enroll, and of course, the costs. Call us today at 800-393-4001 and request your free guide. There are many different elements of Medicare, and this guide will help educate you on all of them. Call 800-393-4001 or request the guide online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up.
Because we have something better.
Stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit GoRedForWomen.org today to learn more.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Miss any of the show? The Financial Exchange Show podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange. On this day in 2002, the Patriots won their first Super Bowl. Also on this day in 2019, the Patriots won their final Super Bowl with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. The Patriots beat the same team for their championship and for their first championship and their most recent championship. Trivia question today. Who did the Patriots beat in Super Bowl 36 and Super Bowl 53? Once again, who did the Patriots defeat in Super Bowl 36 and Super Bowl 53? Be the 8th person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, and you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, the 8th correct response to text us at 617-362-1385 will get that t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Piece in the Wall Street Journal. It's actually a Wall Street Journal exclusive. Trump's bid for more oil is a hard sell for allies in U.S. and Saudi Arabia.
So long as we're talking about oil, I think it's worth mentioning, by the way, that this morning oil prices were up, I think, 2.5% on tariff news. They are now, as my read here would be, oil traders are assuming no Canadian tariffs in place because
oil's flat now. Yeah. So you've got that. I did get an update. Hold on, let me pull it up here. Here we go. From the New York Times Canada Bureau Chief. And again, this person knows more about Canada than I do. That's about all I can say. I don't know if they're going to be right or not. Senior Canada government official tells me situation is in flux for Canada after Trump-Trudeau call this morning and had a follow-up call at 3 p.m., but they are not optimistic that a real off-ramp for tariff exists for Canada the way it materialized for Mexico.
I think I can read that too. There wouldn't be much of a point to have the Royal Mounted Canadian military sitting at the Canadian border because there's not a whole lot of illegal migration or fentanyl coming over that border.
No.
So easy solutions are not quite there.
So again, we'll have to see how that all ends up playing out. But getting back to the oil piece here. So when you look at U.S. oil producers, yes, they would love to have access to easier licenses in order to be able to drill and lower regulatory costs and things like that.
Sure.
Whether those exist or not, the people that are running those companies right now all were in the energy industry back in 2015 and 2016 when the U.S. energy industry was decimated by Russia turning on the spigots and saying, hey, here's as much oil as the world can handle. And oil prices went from in the 90s to in the 20s over about 18 months.
So let's put yourself in the shoes of an oil executive right now who probably is going to face a situation where it is, again, less regulatory burden and more...
Definitely.
Definitely less regulatory burden and probably a whole lot of area opening up for drilling that you might be able to do. That does bring down your overall costs, and you might consider expanding there. On the other side of that equation, you have a president who is taking seriously the goal of de-escalating Russia and Ukraine. And if that should happen, the possibility of Russian oil coming back onto markets in some meaningful way. Do you think that's a possibility, at least under the Trump administration?
Russian oil coming back onto markets?
Yeah.
This is from Russia's deputy prime minister this morning. Current situation on global oil markets is stable. We will increase oil production from April. OPEC Plus is a good instrument. So Russia this morning saying, yeah, in a few months we're going to start increasing production.
Is there anything that in the mind of a sitting oil executive would tell you, hey, I am definitively able to make a whole bunch of profit because I'm thinking that oil prices are going up and so I need to drill? I just don't think there's any certainty there. And so, therefore, I don't know that deregulation gets more oil to market in the United States.
Where I land is I think you can have one of two things in the United States. You can have higher production, or you can have oil at 45 to 55 a barrel. I don't think you can have both. And so if you end up with, let's say that the U.S. convinces the Saudis to, pull back on their production cuts, which I think the Saudis are withholding like 3 to 4 million barrels a day of spare capacity right now.
Sure.
Okay, the Trump administration says, yeah, you guys start pumping more oil. Prices come down. That's not an environment where U.S. producers just start jumping up and down saying, yes, this is the time to drill like more holes in the ground. They're saying, no, we got burned by this back in 2015. We're not going to do it again. So I think you can have one of two things, which is higher domestic production or lower prices. Getting both is probably pretty hard because the incentives are completely skewed. For a U.S. producer, if your investment goes badly, you're out of business and out of a job, which happened in 2015 to a ton of people in that business.
Yep.
If you are a Russian producer and you produce too much oil, okay, you're owned by the state anyways. Like, what gives? Who cares? It's just, okay, the state isn't making as much on a per barrel basis. Same with the Saudis. It's no one loses their job at Saudi Aramco because they produce too much oil.
Yeah, I think the one thing would be if you see an unexpected price shock to the upside, then maybe oil producers are better positioned to drill more and get that back down.
Even there, like, how long is that going to last? Because you drill a well today, you're projecting profits for like 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
You know? Quick break here. When we come back, we got the trivia answer, and then we're going to preview this Friday's jobs report.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much. And they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline qualification line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense.
Medicare provides health coverage for millions of Americans, but it's a challenging program. Being aware of its many complexities is crucial to your health care plans for later life. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide is called Understanding Medicare, Essential Questions Answered. In it, we'll help you learn about the basics, including enrollment periods, costs, and coverage options, as well as more complicated issues like filing claims and appeals and planning for long-term care. Call us today at 800-393-4001 and request your free guide today. There are many resources available to help you understand your options and rights under Medicare. Ask for our free guide and learn more so that you can make the most informed decisions for your health care. And you can get it by calling 800-393-4001. Again, that number is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The calendar is turned, and the cold is here to stay. So now's the perfect time to plan that getaway to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Act now and take advantage of a special promotion to St. Croix. Experience a vibe like no other and receive a $250 per person airfare credit and a free hotel night when you book a 5-night minimum stay with any participating hotel before June 30th, 2025. St. Croix is known for its incredible history and spectacular architecture, along with world-class cuisine, incredible golf courses, and a wide variety of water sports. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. Experience a vibe like no other on the island of St. Croix. Go to visitusvi.com and use the code VIBE2025 for more information and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com and code VIBE2025.
This is Tucker Salvo of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about the basics of estate planning. Todd, Massachusetts recently raised their estate tax exemption to $2 million. Do people still have to plan?
Yes, it's a simple answer is yes, but let's think about it from a back to the basics standpoint, right? Some people think they don't even need a will, or if they have a will, that's all they need. First, I want you to know that a will is a won't. It won't avoid probate. It won't help you reduce estate taxes, which we're talking about. It won't help you protect assets from the nursing home, so it won't do a lot. So a will is really a won't, so please don't stop with a will. The reason you need to do a trust is this new exemption that you speak of went from $1 million to $2 million. So now with a trust, you are able to double that exemption by being a married couple and having a trust in place. You can shelter $2 million on the first death and $2 million on the second death to shelter $4 million. But you need a trust to do it. And while the exemption went up, which is good news, the cost of not planning just doubled. So very important to get your trusts in place.
Learn how you can avoid probate, eliminate estate taxes, keep your money in your family, and protect your assets from the nursing home. Request this brand new guide from Cushing & Dolan. It's called Back to the Basics. Call 866-848-5699 or visit LegalExchangeShow.com to request it. Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 30 years. Once again, the phone number 866-848-5699 or request it from their website, LegalExchangeShow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange Show podcast drops every day on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. You're listening to the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Trivia question today was, who did the Patriots beat in the Super Bowl 36 and 53? That would be the Rams. In 2002, they beat the Rams 20-17 and beat the Rams again in 2019 with the score of 13-3 in one of the most boring games I've ever witnessed. Louis from Dudley, Mass. was our winner today, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Congrats to Louis. And we play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Mike, we got a jobs report kicking off this Friday. It's going to be the first one of 2025, or at least the first one for data in 2025.
Sure.
Expectations are for 170,000 to 205,000 jobs created. Unemployment rate staying at 4.1%. And basically, there have been no signs in any of the shorter-term, higher-frequency data like weekly jobless claims to suggest that there's been any shift in U.S. hiring during the month of January.
Yeah, so we'll get this initial read, but I think it's important to go back to what seems to be the narrative right now, which is whether you're talking to economists or investors, recession seems to be the last thing on people's mind right now, which is oftentimes the worst narrative to have because that's when it might sneak up on you. But the market itself does not seem concerned about job loss and recession, and much more focused on the inflationary impact of the hiring market and what that could mean. Anything else that really, to touch on this Friday's jobs report? I don't really think so. But it also follows a trend of more retirement age Americans continuing to work. And the data on this is a bit mixed. I mean, certainly I think this is the case if you were to compare Americans today to the 1960s. Unfortunately, I don't really have great data on what portion of Americans in 1960s were working past the age of 65.
No, the data that I have for employment to population ratio goes back to 2008.
Right. And that's, a pretty similar time frame to today. But I do buy the idea that more Americans are working today. And I think mainly there's one reason, which is, generally speaking, compared to 50 years ago, wages haven't kept pace with prices. And then there's also been some deterioration of things like pensions that previously supported Americans in retirement that just don't exist to the same extent these days. Like Social Security obviously is still there, quite robust, and has even been expanded over those decades. But the pension system was a much easier system for people to adapt to. And so it's not that everyone's working longer. It's that some people not great at planning are needing to work in retirement to afford their lifestyle.
So you think this is more a function of I need to work rather than I'm still healthy and want to work.
I think there's plenty of that too, and certainly life expectancy is longer today than it was 50 years ago, and that plays a role in all of this. Americans are healthier at 65 than they were decades previously, and the nature of work that we do in this country too, right? You probably didn't have a lot of 67-year-olds manufacturing cars. You might have some 67-year-olds sitting behind a desk and working for, Booking Holdings, for example, who has a bunch of benefits that favor older Americans. I think the main message that I take away, or that I hear from working older adults, and also is a key part of my message to them when I'm talking to them about retirement, is there's a number of really good reasons to retire. But some of the worst reasons to retire are also some of the most common ones I hear. Well, I'm turning 65. I'm Medicare eligible. I'm supposed to retire. I'm just done with this job. I'm fed up. I want to be out. The best reasons that I hear to retire are consistently from people who say, I am really passionate about X, Y, or Z. I don't have enough time to pursue that because of my job, and I want to retire to go spend more time doing that. That has nothing to do with money. You'll notice I didn't talk about pension or Social Security or any of that during that conversation. It was purely a conversation of, I want more time to be able to focus on this, and that's why I'm retiring. It's not to say you can't have a financially successful retirement by going the other route. My point would be merely, I've watched a lot of people do it, and I've seen a lot of unhappy people or unsuccessful retirees. By unsuccessful, I mean blowing money on a bunch of things that they didn't plan for, not planning appropriately, or frankly, thinking that they want to retire and then going back to work in a different job because they realized, I'm actually not happy because I didn't have that thing that I was planning for. My message to folks, if you are closing in on one of those key dates, or it's been going through your mind of, hey, I want to be able to be moving towards retirement, one of the best things you can do for yourself is check the boxes on your financial security. I'm telling you firsthand that the relief that I see from people, while they are even still working, by doing the homework, understanding what their financial lives would look like, and checking the box on, I can't afford to retire at this point, just the relief that people get and the happier they are in life once they go through all that, and they can go into work saying, hey, I'm here because I want to be, but not because I need to be financially. It does deliver a lot of clarity and de-stressing, I think, from people's work lives. If you are falling into that category of closing in on retirement, even if you are a decade away, let someone give you that peace of mind when it comes to your financial security. We at Armstrong Advisory Group advise our clients on this type of subject every single day. And if you could use some advice around it, please give us a ring at 800-393-4001. Again, that's the number for the Armstrong Advisory Group where you can book your free consultation. The number is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
New Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is at the helm this week for his first quarterly refunding announcement. Basically, this is when the Treasury announces their plans for bond issuance for the upcoming quarter. And it doesn't usually get a ton of fanfare. It started to very briefly back in, I think, late 23, early 24. But honestly, don't waste your time looking through this if you're not trading interest rates on a daily basis. You probably don't need to pay attention to the quarterly refunding announcement.
So what was the criticism levied at then Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen when it came to this? Because Bessent played a role in that, I believe.
Yeah, it was basically, hey, she was skewing the mix towards more shorter-term debt in order to try to keep long-term rates down and kind of goose the economy. And in doing so, was not necessarily running the Treasury the way that would be best for the long term.
Because what that just means is more of the funding liabilities come up for renewal very short term.
So it remains to be seen whether Bessent makes any changes for this week's quarterly refunding announcement, just because the guy was just confirmed. I think it was last Thursday that he finally was confirmed. I don't think any of his main staffers, the undersecretaries of the Treasury and so on and so forth are confirmed yet. And so you've got a little bit of work to be done there. So maybe you start to see some incremental changes. But ultimately, I think this is going to be one where, hey, Bessent's in a tough spot. He's got a deficit on an annual basis that has been at or around 6 to 7% the last couple of years. There is obviously a very large outstanding deficit as well, and you're trying to pass through tax cuts. So, hey, Treasury is the department of the government that makes sure that the bills are paid. And how do you fund the government in the right way so that you're able to, keep funding costs stable, keep basically investors in America happy, and make sure all the bills get paid? He's got a tough job, but Bessent is someone who, we talked about this when he was nominated, really, really smart dude. Mm-hmm. Just qualified through the roof. And so if there's someone who you would expect has the creativity, the knowledge, and the foresight to be able to say, this is how I need to handle things in all of these different situations, you would expect it to be him, because he knows his stuff, especially when it comes to currencies and foreign exchange, and that's exactly what you want from a Treasury Secretary. So we'll see what happens as he starts to get up to speed, but yeah, he's going right into it this week with that refunding announcement. Quick break here. When we come back, it's time for Stack Roulette.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Estate and asset protection are the keys to a successful retirement. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Back to the Basics. It contains a simple blueprint that will help you create a retirement plan that protects your assets from probate and the nursing home, while also giving you guidance about how to create your will and set up your beneficiaries so that your family's financial security is intact as you get older. If you haven't done your planning yet, or need a second look at your existing plan, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and ask for their new guide called Back to the Basics. There are many necessary elements that you'll need to include to give you the peace of mind you want as you prepare for your later years. That number again is 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Medicare provides health coverage for millions of Americans, but it's a challenging program. Being aware of its many complexities is crucial to your healthcare plans for later life. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide is called Understanding Medicare: Essential Questions Answered. In it, we'll help you learn about the basics, including enrollment periods, costs, and coverage options, as well as more complicated issues like filing claims and appeals and planning for long-term care. Call us today at 800-393-4001 and request your free guide today. There are many resources available to help you understand your options and rights under Medicare. Ask for our free guide and learn more so that you can make the most informed decisions for your health care. And you can get it by calling 800-393-4001. Again, that number is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The calendar is turned and the cold is here to stay. So now's the perfect time to plan that getaway to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Act now and take advantage of a special promotion to St. Croix. Experience a vibe like no other and receive a $250 per person airfare credit and a free hotel night when you book a 5-night minimum stay with any participating hotel before June 30th, 2025. St. Croix is known for its incredible history and spectacular architecture, along with world-class cuisine, incredible golf courses, and a wide variety of water sports. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. Experience a vibe like no other on the island of St. Croix. Go to visitusvi.com and use the code VIBE2025 for more information and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com and code VIBE2025.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
If you missed any of today's show, catch up whenever you want on our YouTube page. Find daily show segments and full shows. Just go to youtube.com and search for The Financial Exchange. This is your home for breaking business and financial news. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is proud of our partnership with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. This year's 5K will be here before you know it, so mark your calendars for Saturday, November 8th. We'll be keeping you updated on registration information in the coming weeks, but in the meantime, if you want to help our great American heroes right now, just visit dav5k.boston where you can make a donation today and support such programs as the Veterans Transportation Program, which takes injured vets to their important medical appointments. That's dav5k.boston.
What do you got for me, Michael?
The so-called NIL rules opened up college athletics for all sorts of brand ambassadors, basically allowing college athletes to get paid for sponsorship deals and all sorts of things without affecting their eligibility. This is now moving a little bit further down market to high school students and specifically minors, under 18, now signing some sponsorship deals. And I think my first reaction to it was just kind of visceral, distasteful, right? It just kind of made me feel a little bit dirty. I suppose if I'm going to take a further look at it, I have a difficult time feeling any worse about this than I do, say, childhood actors, right? Like you have plenty of 7-year-olds who got into acting at that stage and relied on their parents to negotiate contracts and all sorts of things on their behalf. I also find that oftentimes a little bit distasteful, but beyond that, I'm not sure I have much to critique here, right? He's a 17-year-old star athlete, likely going to be going to college. His parents, legally, or whoever his guardians are, had to sign the contract on his behalf. And while I might find it slightly distasteful, and I'm not sure how I feel about a 17-year-old being a brand ambassador, I don't know that I find it any worse than other stuff that we do in regards to young kids in media.
No, I mean, look, here's the thing. The difference, like, if you're talking about, like, when you're going to get paid, I've long been a proponent that college athletes should be able to get paid whatever the heck they can earn for whatever the heck they do. Sure. Because it's the only place in America where we're like, no, you're good at this. Not only can you not make money on your talent, you can't make money being recognized for your talent. Right. Like, it just seemed ludicrous. So if I'm going to sit here and be like, hey, an 18-year-old should be able to make money off their talent, and then say, like, a 17-year-old shouldn't, like, no, that's not logically consistent.
Now, what about, like, a 8-year-old star hockey player that wants to endorse Bauer hockey sticks?
Shame on Bauer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't blame the kid.
Right.
Like, the kid's not old enough to even know what's going on.
Yeah.
I blame the company because, quite honestly...
Draw a line somewhere.
Well, here's the thing. There are a few things to know. The first is LeBron James probably is the only athlete who's ever delivered on the hype from a young age.
Yeah.
Maybe Sidney Crosby also. Other than that, I really struggle to find someone where you're like, that kid was identified at like 10 years old and lived up to the hype. So generally, like, you don't know at that age who's going to be the latest and greatest. Do you guys know who Sean Burrows is?
No.
Yeah. I think. Baseball?
Baseball player.
Ah, yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Played for the San Diego Padres. He was the third baseman. His Little League World Series team won the Little League World Series, and he hit like 4,000 home runs when he was 12 years old. And like basically would have been one of these kids that like you'd be like, oh, like that's who I'm endorsing, or who's gonna like have all these endorsements. Sure. He had like a short major league career. I think it was maybe like 5 or 6 years. He was fine. Like maybe he made like one All-Star game even. But he wasn't like the guy.
Yeah, it's tough to know what a 13-year-old is going to turn into.
Mike, you're a hockey fan. You know who Grant Wallstrom is?
Yeah.
He's on the Bruins right now.
Yeah.
Third liner.
Uh-huh.
Not great. Like I think he has like 1 goal in like 15 games since being signed as a free agent.
Yep.
He was the kid who back like 15 years ago did the crazy like spin around lacrosse thing when he was like 10 years old on Garden Ice, and everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's going to be..." He's fine. He's playing in the NHL, but like no one knows who Grant Wallstrom is. My point on this is twofold. A, like if you're trying to like figure out, hey, how do we get like an 8-year-old to endorse our product? You're probably not going to pick the right one to begin with. B, if you're the parent of an 8-year-old, unless you actually have like real financial challenges and like, I mean, like, can you not keep a roof over your head? I don't think you understand what it means to like have your 8-year-old taking on that kind of responsibility and how it can mess them up at that kind of age. If you're talking about like 16, 17-year-olds where, hey, they're being talked about as number 1 picks in their, respective drafts in this, totally different because those kids have already gone through the ringer. They've already had so much scrutiny on them for the last 7-8 years as top prospects in their sports that if they are going to go into those sports, they're only going to have more of it. And so, fine, you want to do that there? I don't have an issue. I got a real problem with companies trying to target kids, I would say probably below 16, and with parents basically using their kids to make money in any way, shape, or form before they're the same age, unless they're like really struggling financially. Because, and this is not just for sports, I see like the kids that have their own YouTube channels where they're making millions of dollars, like opening toys as 9-year-olds and stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's really tough to not think the worst of those situations. Not assume the worst, that is what I mean there.
I don't want to seem like anti-money, but what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we doing here just from like a human perspective? And this is before you even get into the stuff with, women under the age of 16, where it's like you got some real problems with how that ends up being marketed and some real sketchy stuff that can happen there. So
yeah, that's the distasteful part that I was trying to wrap my head around.
It's one thing if you're this, if you are being claimed to be the next LeBron James at like 17, yeah, like get your money. But if you're 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, I kind of say shame on the companies for even asking. The parents, I guess, look, you probably don't know what you're getting into in a lot of cases. And the kids in a lot of situations, I just feel kind of bad for because you're losing a lot of your childhood, I think. But I'm kind of not even old-fashioned on that stuff, so I don't know. Your mileage may vary. I want to talk about Meta. They've now invested, or they're about to invest a total of $100 billion in the metaverse.
Lots to show for it. End of story.
Great. That's all we got on.
I didn't know you could fit that much money down a toilet.
It's a really big toilet, Michael. It's a metaversical toilet.
Indeed.
You can fit anything down that puppy. Let's take a quick break here for the rest of the day. The Dow is off 40 points, S&P off 40 points, NASDAQ off 211. We'll see you tomorrow on the Financial Exchange.